The problem is you have no idea who is and who is not a narcissist. Now you say, Ken, look, this guy is my good friend. I've known him for months, maybe years. I can trust him imminently. There's nothing that I can't say to this person that I have a problem with because he'll keep it close and he won't talk about it. I hate to break this to you, but some of the people in my life that I thought were my absolutely positively best, most trusted friends turned out to be actors. I'm nearly 70 years old. And over the decades, I've learned a thing or two, and I want to share with you some of those things that I've learned. And one of the things I've learned is don't just assume that everybody's not a narcissist because you've known them a very long time. They can surprise you. Here's number one: criticism of other people. Why do you not want to talk about that? Obviously, I think, at least it is to me, that when you're talking to a narcissist, and it's a covert narcissist, this is the undercover guy who puts on the act, puts on the show, you don't know he's a narcissist, he's coming across as your best friend in the whole world. But one thing about that narcissist that is true of virtually every person who has narcissism is their brain is a biological database. And all the stuff that you tell them, they're keeping it. Now, when the smear campaign begins, and it begins before you know it, it usually begins before the discard, the final discard. But when you give this person information, it's now in their database, and they start talking to other people about what you said about them, and the other people know. They know that you've been talking about them because they remember telling you or being with you or whatever. That is the source of this information that the narcissist is now telling them. Are you following what I'm saying? So they know it's true. Well, the problem is the narcissist loves to embellish the story. They will make it sound like you were being harshly critical, even gossiping about these people, tearing them down behind their back, like you are the narcissist. And you didn't mean it that way. I mean, that's not the way you intended to come across, and you probably didn't come across that way, but the narcissist, they're just deceptive. They are deceivers. So the thing best said is don't talk about people behind their back. Don't talk about them in front of them. Now, I used to have this attitude that I thought it was okay to gossip about people as long as you said something good, as long as you said something positive and uplifting. But I discovered something. What I discovered was that if you're talking to a narcissist, that person will take even the most kind, considerate things you say about somebody else, and they will embellish them, they will change them, they will make it sound like you were criticizing that person harshly. Number two is not only do you not criticize other people, but you don't talk about your experiences with anybody, because that body could potentially be a narcissist. Be careful about your past experiences. Okay, there are some things I guess we can talk about that are so benign and so mundane that it's really not a serious problem, but are you sure you want to talk about it, past experiences? You know, the problems you had at that previous job, or maybe it was a difficulty that you're having with your neighbor, or maybe, maybe it's not a negative thing, maybe it's a positive thing. So you're talking to the narcissist about something positive that happened to your other job. What does the narcissist do with that information? He files it away. This person worked over at this place. Now he knows that. And what the narcissist will do frequently is if they run into somebody who works at that place that you used to work, this is just one example of many, but he'll start getting more, or she will start getting more information about you. Okay, you have this great neighbor, you just love these people, and you're gossiping very positive about them, how great they are. And the narcissist takes note of that, and he may encounter your neighbor, sometimes on purpose. And he will say, guess what? This dear friend of mine was talking about you behind your back, and he said blah, 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 but he won't say what you said verbatim. He will embellish it, he will change it, and now that dear friend that you thought was a neighbor, good neighbor, suddenly they're not so nice to you anymore, and you don't know why. What did you do? What could you possibly have done to offend them? Well, what you did was you were gossiping, positive gossip, complimentary gossip, good gossip. But the narcissist took that and he or she used it against you. Number three, a thing you don't want to talk to a narcissist about, which is potentially anybody, don't mention your weaknesses. I guess this should be very obvious. I mean, I like to come across as being humble, don't we all? We're just really proud of how humble we are. Typical human problem. But sometimes we will, mention our weaknesses, and the narcissist will pick up on that. So you're really not good at doing this, or you have a fear or phobia of this. I'm telling you, that biological database that is the brain of the narcissist, they are filing that away, and they can and will find a way to use that against you. Number four is future plans. You know what narcissists love to do? They love to trip people. You remember when you were a kid on the playground, elementary school, and there was this bully who thought it was funny to trip people? Push them over, passing the ball. He will pass the ball so that you can't catch it on purpose, just tripping you up. Now, if you're talking to a narcissist unawares, and again, I don't mean to make you paranoid, but you just got to be careful. I'm not saying these people are space aliens, but you don't know if they're a narcissist or not. So just be careful when you talk about your future plans. Because narcissists love to try to trip you up because it makes them feel smarter. All right, so you got future plans. You're going to go into this business, and the next thing you know, those people that you are relying on to make that future plan happen are mad at you for some odd reason. You don't know why. You don't know that this dear friend of yours, narcissist, you don't know he's a narcissist or she's a narcissist, has gone to these people and part of their smear campaign, they convince them that you're not somebody that they want to do business with. That's just about anything. All right, you got plans of marrying somebody. You mentioned that to your dear friend who really is a covert narcissist and you don't know it. Next thing you know, this person that you plan to marry is mad at you. Got no idea why. And again, smear campaign. The narcissist, covert narcissist, got to this person and told them all the bad things about you. So don't talk about your future plans. Number five is kind of the opposite. Don't talk about your accomplishments in the past, because the narcissist will pick up on those things that you have accomplished, and that they hate that. They don't want to think that anybody has had a successful past except for them, or certainly not as good as them. I mean, these people, I know some narcissists, covert narcissists who are, they're flat out homeless. They have nothing and nobody, but they still think they're the greatest thing on the earth. And it really bothers them that you have anything like a new car, or if you have a decent home, or you have a stable family life. They absolutely positively hate that, and they will take those accomplishments. And you're talking about, what you had for dinner last night. That's, to the narcissist, that's an accomplishment. You've accomplished a stable family life. And you're talking to a narcissist about that, and next thing you know, the smear campaign. How you trash talk your family. Okay, just don't talk about it, and you don't have to worry about those things. A little extreme, maybe, but you still got to be guarded. You still got to be careful, hold those things close. Well, what about relationships? If you talk to a narcissist about your dear friends, now your narcissist is storing that information away in his biological database, which is his or her brain. He knows who your friends are. And when the smear campaign begins, guess who he's going to first? He wants to isolate you from all your friends. Now, you've been talking about your relationships, and usually the narcissist will hear something that is very negative. You may not say anything negative, but that's the way he interprets it, and that's the way he will explain it when he goes to these people to stab you in the back. So just be quiet about your relationships, about your love life. Don't talk about that anyhow. To anybody for any reason. That's none of anybody's business. except for you and your love interest. Yeah, I know you like to brag about it. Why? That's disgusting. Don't talk about that stuff. Family issues, that's between you and your family, maybe a therapist. But even, be careful even talking to a clergyman about that, because sometimes clergymen aren't what they're dressed up to be. Got to be real careful. Family issues. Why would you want to talk to anybody about that? You need a shoulder to cry on. I got to tell you this, because this is so important. I know people who got divorced. Guy got divorced. I said, why did you divorce your wife? And his response was, well, I didn't. Yes, you did. I mean, you went to divorce court. You got a divorce. He said, no, actually, I was divorcing my mother-in-law. To get rid of my mother-in-law, I had to divorce my wife and went through all that problem. Why would anybody want to talk to a narcissist about your difficulty with your family? Because you know the narcissist is going to take this and, again, embellish it, spread it all over the place. Now, this one should be kind of obvious. Number 7 is do not talk about your finances to anybody. All right, maybe your wife, maybe your accountant. Whether you like it or not, some things you got to tell to the IRS, to tax collection agencies. But what I do at the end of every year, I take our finances, family finances, and give it to my wife so she knows everything that came in, everything that went out, where it came from, and where it went to. I have a spreadsheet because I'm a good Aspie. I love spreadsheets, and I keep track of all of our family expenses and income. And at the end of the year, one person gets that. One person in the world. That's my wife. An iteration of that goes to our accountant, but not with the detail. Nobody else needs to know any of that. They don't need to know your financial hardships. They don't know if you have a windfall. They don't need to know how much money you make at the workplace. They don't need to know any of that, because a narcissist will pick up on that and use it against you. Absolute, positive, almost guarantee that's going to happen. So just don't talk about it. And there's really no reason to talk about finances. And again, I guess that's kind of obvious. Okay. Number 8 is never talk about the kind things that you did to other people or for other people, because it comes across as aloofness, and the narcissist will say you're boasting. Now, come to think of it, when you give somebody something and then you brag about it, and you don't mean to be bragging about it, do you? You're just kind of talking and just happen to mention that you left a $100 tip to the waitress. Is that a gift? I mean, if you give a waitress a $100 tip and then you get praise and adoration for doing it from other people, that's not a gift, that's an exchange. What you did is you just bought praise and adoration for $100. I don't think that's a good deal. So you come across as kind of aloof. Keep that stuff to yourself. You do something kind to somebody, don't brag about it. By the way, here's something that you may want to do. A little bit off topic, but if there is somebody who has been kind to you or somebody that you appreciate, send them a note telling them how much you appreciate them. Now, here's the kicker. Don't sign it. Send it anonymously. Nobody knows who sent that note. I mean, as long as it's legal to do that, why not? And this person gets that thing, gets that note, that some anonymous person is thanking them for keeping their lawn looking nice. Or you send a note to the manager of the store telling them how kind and courtesy this employee was, but you didn't sign it. Do you know what that does to the person? I mean, it just does something magical to them. It just uplifts them. Now, this is kind of off topic, but the point is you don't need to brag about, and you may not even think you're bragging, but you don't need to rather brag about all those kind things you did to other people. Number 9, this, again, probably should be obvious, and I think there are some obvious exceptions to this, but don't talk about your medical conditions to a narcissist, because he or she, again, will exploit that to your disadvantage. Now, yeah, there are exceptions. Obviously, you got to talk to your physician, to healthcare providers, got to talk to them about your medical conditions, to your close family. They deserve to know what's going on in your life in most cases, unless you have an extremely strained relationship. Why would you not tell them when you get older? Like I'm pushing 70. Like I said earlier, I've learned a thing or two. I like to share things that I've learned with other people about narcissism, but sometimes us old guys get together for lunch. And guess what we talk about besides politics? We talk about our kidneys. We talk about our heart surgery. And we talk about things, just between us. I don't know that's necessarily a bad thing, but are you sure that person sitting across from you is really your good friend? Or is that a narcissist who's undercover? Is that a person who is very trustworthy, but he knows somebody who is a narcissist and he just happens to mention in passing that you have this physical problem? Now, if you have a mental health issue, nothing to be ashamed of, but keep in mind that narcissists will really exploit that to your disadvantage. Number 10 is this. Speaking of mental health issues, if you ever go to therapy, at the end of your therapy sessions, typically what will happen is the therapist will give you a written report, details of what they encountered and discovered. That is between you and you alone, maybe your spouse, maybe one other family member. Now, telling them you went to a therapist if you have a mental condition, I don't know necessarily that it's a bad thing that some other people know about that. It depends on what it is, but that will nearly always, it's sad to say this, but that will nearly always be used against you. So just shut up about it with few exceptions. Do you see those rectangles on the screen? If you would like this conversation to continue, all you got to do is click on one of those rectangles and we'll just keep on going. But on the other hand, if you're done, well, thanks for stopping by and we will see you next time.